Hello, everybody. It's me again, Mel, in the podcast The Other Mother. We are currently on school holidays, just as an update. We're on school holidays for public and private school, I think, in Queensland. Last week we had Riley for nearly the whole week. In holidays, we normally have 1 week on, 1 week off. And it was really good. You know, we had some behaviours, but we were able to manage them. And we went and looked up some animals and just did a few activities, and it was overall a pretty good week. We had a very busy week, and we had very tired children. But no, it was really good. So today, we are talking about compromise and control. And what I mean by that is when you have control over a situation or when you need to compromise with the other parent or co-parent. I would love to know what you guys think. You know, when I talk about a co-parent, do you think I'm speaking about me as a stepmother or everyone together? You know, I saw a post before, and there was the dad, the mum, and then the step parents were called co-parents. I just wonder where you guys sit. So if you have an idea and how I can be clearer with that, just let me know. Post it in some comments or shoot me a message, and I can change the way I'm addressing people. But getting back onto this, so compromise and control is super tough to think about and extremely tough to reason internally with. Is this something that I should compromise, or is this something that I can control? And I think that naturally each parent wants their own control of a situation, but we have to keep in mind the other person, and that's so hard when you just want to go, this is what I'm doing, and you can't. Added in with that, into our little cocktail of fun, is that we all have different parenting styles. So, of course, Cam and I, my husband and I, are going to have different parenting styles to Riley's biological mother and her partner, and that's completely natural. No one house is the same, no one parent is the same. Cam and I have some differences, but, you know, overall, we have the same parenting style, and we always have the same goal for our children to work towards, and I think that's important. So different homes obviously are going to have different rules. I think for the most part, everyone has the same rules. You know, don't hit each other, don't yell at each other, don't yell inside the house. Well, hopefully. The kids are always yelling inside the house, and we try and squash that to inside voice, but that doesn't happen. But yeah, you know, you get the gist. We all have pretty similar rules. However, some houses have different rules, different ways to discipline, things like that, and that can really challenge our own values, I think, especially for me. When you have control over your biological children and you pretty much run that ship, you are the captain, you are the queen. But when you have a stepchild, you don't, and so that can clash sometimes with what you believe and what you think. But at the end of the day, you know, we're trying to do what's best for our stepchild and love them to the most capacity that we can. That was bad English, but you get what I'm saying. So obviously we create an environment for our children in our home. That environment includes rules. Please don't break things. Please don't yell in the house. Please don't argue. Please don't kick. Boundaries, don't talk to people in a certain manner, things like that, you know. Language used and styles of communication, and those two definitely come hand in hand. When I say language, I don't mean using bad words or things like that. I mean the language that we use to speak to our children. Positive, negative. There's actually a very, very good video on YouTube, and I can post it in my link on my YouTube podcast, but it's called Jackal language, and it's something that I learned about when I was studying, and it's absolutely fantastic, and it's removing blame, and it's you know, going, you did this, and I find it really works with children, and I really try and do that at home and remove that jackal language, as it's called. But we can't be a fly on the wall. as much as we want to. You know, we have what we're having here, and we create that environment for our children and for Riley, one in the same. And in each different place that Riley goes to, whether it be my husband's parents, whether it be his biological mum's house, whether it be her parents' house, so his grandma and grandpa, we aren't a fly on the wall, and we don't see what happens, which can be hard. And that's that relinquishing control. And that's, I guess, where the compromise comes into play. Do we have the same boundaries? Do we have the same rules? You know, sometimes in the past, more often than recently, I think our house seemed to be a little bit more stricter than everyone else's. But, you know, we had those rules and boundaries in place, and we always describe why. We always say, this is why. You could hurt yourself. You could hurt someone else. You could damage something. And it's always along those lines. Yeah. I did read somewhere that someone said, it's your house, it's your rules. And sometimes I find that does work. You know, Riley can come here, and I think I've mentioned before, he knows that when he gets home from school on a Wednesday and Friday to here, he has to sit down at the door because he always has bark in his shoes and he has to take his shoes off properly. So here's a Velcro. And when we go, no, you have to undo the Velcro and take your shoe off. You ruin your shoes. That's another how many dollars everyone's out of pocket. Undo the Velcro. And if he slips them off without undoing the Velcro, we go, undo the Velcro, put them back on, do them up, take them off properly. You know, try and create and, I guess, instill that behaviour. This is what we need you to do. And we do that. And whether that's something he does at the other house, like it's not that big a deal. But when you look at the bigger rules and the bigger picture, there are things that need to be on the same page. And so with that, we definitely try and keep communication open. So when we do transfer with Riley from one house to the other, we always share the peaks and the falls, good things and bad things that happened, where if something bad happened, what we did and how it was responded to. For example, an iPad being banned, toys removed, behaviour plan, if this happens again, or if you will take this and if you be good, we'll give this back, or you know, whatever that might be. And it's something that is definitely getting built more upon and more descriptive. But, you know, we just keep things straight to the point. This is what happened, what we did. This is what we did to respond to that. The only thing that's hard is, what if the houses aren't the same? So, for example, for us, and this isn't a bad thing, we just don't... our kids don't really use the iPad. The most they'll do on it is watch a movie together, or they will, you know, there's little educational games on there, but we don't really have games. Or it's for homework only. So sometimes we'll pick Riley up and say, oh, he's banned from the iPad, and yep, that's fine. But we don't really do much here on the iPad, so we go, okay, what can we take away? So recently, Riley's got this little controller. It's so cool. My parents bought it for him. You plug it in, and it's got these like old school games on it that he can play. So that's something we will take away instead, because it's similar. You know, there's a comparison there, and that's us compromising and going, okay, we don't do that, but we can take this away, and you know, that's also got our sense of control in there as well, because we've been able to choose what we take away rather than it being, I guess, universal. I guess it's also just preferred activities. And there'll be preferred activities at either house, but whatever it is, then we look at it then. We also have to compromise with visits. Like, we do not have full control over that, which is hard sometimes. I mean, my husband isn't the primary carer, so sometimes we have to make arrangements for different things and possibly lose some time with Riley. It doesn't really happen much, but normally there's the communication there where, you know, in 2 weeks we have this planned. Is it okay if he gets picked up early, or, you know, dropped off later, whichever that might be. But that's super hard. You can't really say no, can you? if we have something planned, we'll go, oh, look, we have something planned, maybe next time. But yeah, you don't always get to have that full amount of time with the child, and that's so hard for my husband. I know that he really laps up every moment that he has with Riley, and so do I, and we try to make family things out of it. But that's just the world of co-parenting and blended families, isn't it? You really got to share and do what's best for the child. And, if they have something really cool planned and we have nothing planned, we don't want him to miss out on that. Like, go for it. You need to have fun. I recall one time Riley's biological messaged me and said, oh, actually, we're going to take our son to a theme park on this day during the holidays. Is it okay if I pick Riley up in the morning and drop him off after? And of course that's fine. Go for it. He should be out there having fun. I was just going to clean the house anyway because this place is a bomb site. So enough of my rambling. I'm rambling a little bit, aren't I? I think the hardest things for us not having control over is definitely what school Riley goes to. I don't know how it works for other people because you have districts in different countries and different states might have different rules. What recreational sports he might do. If there's a recreational sport that we think would be great for him, do we have him on that day? Are we able to take him? Is there anything else that's going to impact that? Whereas if it was our own kid, we could just go ahead and do it and we just work around it. Methods of doing homework. I'm sure he has different methods in different households, and that could be quite confusing for him. We have to live in a particular area, sort of. So, we wouldn't live more than 45 minutes away from where Riley is, and even that's pushing it. That's really quite far. So, we wouldn't really be able to move into-state or do anything like that because that would compromise the relationship that my husband has with my stepson, and also our family dynamic. Coming up next year, we have a Christmas trip down to Adelaide. I'm from Adelaide, and we will be taking down my son Mason and daughter Charlotte, and we are hoping to be able to take Riley down to Adelaide with us, and that's something we have to ask. But the hard part is when we were talking about going down, I felt like I was asking my husband to choose between this family or the other family, and that really, really sucks, like, do you spend your Christmas with your stepson, or do you spend your Christmas with for Cam, do you spend your Christmas with your son that lives in Queensland and you need to compromise with and don't have control over, or do you come to Adelaide and miss out on that time? That's so hard, and I couldn't even imagine being in that position. But I feel like for a lot of families out there, this is an inevitable topic. You're going to be in these situations sometimes, and I think it just pulls at the heart, and I hate having this conversation. I haven't spent Christmas with my family in Adelaide for 20 years, so I'm definitely going down, and they haven't met my kids yet, so I'd love to take them down. But what do you do? I mean, hopefully we are able to take him down, but then on the other side of co-parenting, that's a Christmas that Riley's biological mum misses out on, and what do you do? It's one of those situations. I throw my hands up, whatever will be, and we'll deal with it when we get there, because how do you compromise with that? He's going to be in a different state. What do you do? I don't know. There have definitely been times that my husband's been upset about one thing or another, where we might have both had things planned on the weekend so we couldn't take him somewhere, or just things like that, things that are going to happen in blended families. And it really, really sucks, and I hate seeing him like that, and I hate that feeling of he doesn't get to spend quality time with his son, or with my stepson spend time with our family. But I mean, sometimes, we have to compromise both ways, and like I said, sometimes it's whatever will be, and we just have to learn to live with that. There was a quote that I wanted to share with you. This is a quote from Shelley Dumfrey, who is a family therapist, and she says, "While it's important to have consistency and structure in two homes, parents will always have their differences. Focus on what you can control with your time and let the rest go. Try to communicate without emotion. It's easier to co-parent when it's like a business deal. Talk about expectations, needs, and solve problems diplomatically." I think that quote, it makes so much sense, and it gets so straight to the point, and you're like, yes, that is so ideal. Focus what you can control in your time with them, because if you don't, you are going to go crazy. Like I said, we aren't flies in the wall. We don't know what's going on everywhere at every time. We don't know what's happening at school, at someone else's home. We can only control now and what is with us, and we have to let the rest go. We can only do what we do in our time. Communicating without emotion is so important. I think there is a time and place for emotion. Don't get me wrong. However, if there's something that you need to talk about where someone's relinquishing control and we need to compromise over a situation, it's better to leave the emotion out of it, and that's where the diplomacy comes in to solve problems. Okay, this is the situation. Let's look around it. What can we do? This is the compromise. This is the best decision. Everybody agrees. Great. Let's just roll with that. I think it's definitely easier said than done. We are always going to have emotion, and how we output that sensibly and constructively is what we can control. And I think if we look at that, think about that quote, and put our communication out there, do the compromise and control, then ultimately you can try and have a successful co-parenting relationship. Look, I don't know everything, and I don't expect to ever know everything. I think it's always going to be a journey, and our co-parenting is going to change. Right now, Riley is 6. He's so young. He's starting to have a voice. He's want this and that and the other. As he grows up, he's going to get more of a voice, and we're going to have to look at the compromise, and eventually Riley is going to have control over the situation and go, this is what I want, and we're going to have to compromise with that. So it's just going to forever evolve, and we can only do what we can at the time. I really want to reread this quote by Shelley Dumfries, just to instill a little bit more, because I think it's really great, and I think it really gets you thinking about what can I do to apply this. So again, while it's important to have consistency and structure in two homes, parents will always have their differences. Focus on what you can control with your time and let the rest go. Try to communicate without emotion. It's easier to co-parent, like a business deal. Talk about your expectations, needs, and solve problems diplomatically. So with our compromise or control, and to approach Shelley Dumfries' way of co-parenting, I think we need to find coping mechanisms, because again, we are always going to have that emotion evolve. So these are just some of the things that I do. I always research. I found Shelley Dumfries' quote, and that's from research, on ways to approach different situations, the language that I can use, how can I be constructive. I keep communication on topic, straight to the point. I don't fluff around. You don't need to talk about everything going in your lives. You really only need to talk about Riley and just do what's best for him. I personally seek guidance, so I'm seeing a counsellor, and that's just to help with whatever emotions I've internalized. Like I said, this podcast is for me to release and to build a community, and hopefully everyone can come together with their experiences and share. And I go to the counsellor for some of that relief. And also communicate with your spouse. So being the step parent, communicating with your husband, if you're a stepfather, with your wife, whatever your situation may be. And that's, I think, extremely imperative. There are times where I've looked at a situation and Cam's gone, what do you think? Should we go and approach it this way, etc.? And I've just said, I think this is a time where I need to step back and you and Riley's biological mum need to come together and make that decision, because some things are just far out of, I guess, what I would consider my stepmother boundaries. There's some small decision and some big decisions I'm happy to weigh in on, but there's others that I just go, this isn't my choice, such as school. That's not my choice. Where you want to send Riley to school, you and his mum, that's up to you, and I will support what you choose, essentially. I really hope that this podcast has helped a little bit. It is so hard to just not have control over your situation. And I think when, if you have anxiety or depression, relinquishing that control is even harder. And that's a whole different podcast topic. But it's just something to think about. So, I have a little list of different podcasts I want to talk about. Next week, I really want to talk about living with an ex. And this is just how it can affect you emotionally. I've mentioned previously in other episodes how I've felt in different circumstances, and I found it really hard. But I want to go a little bit more in depth about how I have had internal thoughts, cognitions, and feelings about being married to someone with an ex-wife. I think that it is unique for everyone in their own situation, but I'm excited to share mine. I think it's going to be a little bit emotional. Hopefully I don't cry, but I'm going to get real deep in the next episode. I hope you have a lovely week. Don't forget, so this is on YouTube. It should be on Spotify. It was processing last week. It can take 5 days, but hopefully it's on Spotify for you now. I can let you know. And of course, there's my Instagram, The Other Mother, where I do share some things that I haven't shared in the podcast. I might just go a little bit more in depth about something that I've mentioned. But I really look forward to connecting with you all, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.